XRP surpasses $3 for the first time since 2018, just about almost 8 years ago. And at the moment has potentially completed a harmonic pattern that indicates a little bit of a cool down pullback. We will be looking at some key levels and some targets to the downside if that does occur, and also be looking at some key levels above, assuming that the price action does continue to rally higher. So looking at the current price action here, we see that we had a really nice impulse move to the upside on some of the latest updates here. I'd been pointing out that while the market was seeming to be a little unstable, we wasn't really sure which way it was going to go. Bitcoin was pulling back to sub 90, all those good things, right? Uh, while you were looking at this, however, you had a consistent higher lows across the board here, and then locally started putting in higher highs, higher high, higher low, and so on. We were looking for that 256 level to get claimed for the upward movement towards at least back to the 2024 highs. And then overall, I was looking for this 127 expansion, which would have completed this potential harmonic pattern. Okay. And now what this is a sequence of Fibonacci. Okay. And then generally, if we start to see this confirm as a potential high here, which for me, I'd be looking for really a couple things here. We can see that we actually ran into the overall all-time high. Now, there's some debates on what the all-time high is. For me, I'm pulling the all-time high off of the Bitstamp chart on XRP, which over time that is, pulled it from the USDT price. Back in the day, I don't even think we were able to trade XRP on US dollars, right? Because it was trading in 2017 against the BTC pair. You didn't have any kind of stable coins to trade off of. So I think that causes some discrepancy in the price action there. But overall, I want to discuss a few things here, okay? And so for me, I ended up taking a short-term, trade essentially around these levels here, around $2, which in the grand scheme of things was not a great entry, right? Obviously getting in for spot more than anything. I would say that back in the 50 to 30, 40, 60 cent, even a dollar at this point range would have been the area to look to. So for me, this was obviously not the ideal area as far as a long-term, type of hold would go. And when I refer to a long-term hold, I'm referring to the trade I took, right? So I put a little bit of leverage behind it, and I was only looking to hold this for a few weeks from this area here, right? So, and then the target for me was this, 127 expansion, about that 318. I closed out my trade around that area, right? So for about a 50 some odd percent gain. Okay. For me, happy with that, closed it out. And I'm, going to take a peek at how the, price action unfolds here, right? So with this potential pattern here, we have a couple of key levels, one of which is really going to come down to that all-time high. All right. So this is the daily time frame I have right now, and this is going to close from the time of recording in about 3 hours. So to see a daily wick above the all-time high like this could be considered a swing failure pattern. All right. An SFP, which doesn't stand for super fun, Paul. But that is generally what you see at times, where the price will come up, you break the all-time high, right? Many people get excited, hold on, to their positions longer, assuming that you're getting a big breakout. Breakout traders will enter, assuming that this is a huge multi-year break of the all-time high and it's going to continue higher. And while all those things may occur short term, you may just get a little bit of a leverage flush, right? So for people like even myself who got in at these, local lows really, or even some of these areas here, or got in to where people are entering positions, and what are they going to do? They're going to put their stop losses below the most recent low in hopes to not miss that next move up to whatever they're targeting. Now I have the 1618 kind of mapped out up here in this box area as well, because for me, I'm really stating that this 10% box is really the next major area to get through if we want any more upside. Otherwise, this is really a key level of resistance in my opinion. Not only do you have this, potential harmonic in play here with the 1618 expansion, that's also a potential harmonic with a deep crab scenario here, both bearish patterns. And you also got the all-time high just sitting here, right? So if we were to, see this kind of come to fruition where we close the day basically under the all-time high, I would view this as really, a little local top here. And what I mean by that is not like this would just, roll over for the next few months and years, but at least come down and probably fill out this pattern's targets, all right, which is truly nothing major. A pullback back to the 2024 high, that would be pretty common. I think that most analysts would look for that and, consider that just a casual back test of the last high. And then honestly, the gold pocket retracement would be the next key one, as well as your B point, which, kind of comes in right in the middle of the two. So I would say that the 382 would be a big one, which is sitting right at that 2024 high, from current price action. Once again, 10, 13%, really, nothing unheard of after a rally of this degree. And then even if we were to get a pullback to the gold pocket, however, now that'd be a little bit deeper, probably get a little, you know, get people a little emotional to see it kind of fall back that much. But this would be a, very common, occurrence here, right? You get that move up, higher high, come back down, potentially a higher low before you continue higher here. All right. So as simple as, I would like to make this is that really you want to get above this 1618, so let's call it 355, start living above 355 for, the confirmation that we're breaking through these key regions. All right, you're flipping these areas, you're essentially in price discovery at that point as well. And then from here, I think that, you get that lift off towards that $4 or $5 next major area, right? Until then, until 355, I would say that, we're in a position where, you're going to get a potential local top here, right? And a pullback to these areas, very common, very realistic. For me, I'm not looking to buy any more XRP personally until or unless, right? There's no guarantee we get to it, but this is my next and, major buy zone at the moment. And if we pushed up even to that, 1618, this is a sizable pullback, 50% basically would be what it is, back to 180, which, once again, nothing that we really weren't at, just a few weeks back. There's no guarantee we get it. But that would be my personal, you do whatever you want. I've been trading XRP for several years, and I do tend to get in and I do tend to get out. And maybe I missed this last little pump to $500 or whatever everybody's targeting. But for me, I'm in this to make money and realize money. So in the grand scheme here, I do think that the next target area would be the $5 to $6 region. That just begins whether, we flip this 355 now, or we do something along these lines where I guess if you were looking at a DCA type of opportunity, for me, it would be these three levels right here, right? So it'd be 280, 284, 246, and then ultimately 179 at the moment, right? So those would be my three big areas to kind of DCA into XRP, assuming, we get the pullback here for that next launch up towards about $6. Now, I want to run a quick little scenario by everybody too, right? So like I said, I closed out my trade here. I'm personally not in any XRP at this point. I accumulated a ton around 50 to 51 cents. Over the last year, I scaled out pretty heavily at 112, the rest honestly at 240. And then I had that last trade that, made a 50% gain on here. Now, mind you, I've traded in and out of XRP several times between 50 cents and $1, sold it, bought it back at 40, 50, 60, 70 cents again, sold it again. Like, in all the years where everyone that had been holding probably just held to their original amount, my game plan in theory was to increase my holdings over time, right? So if I had the opportunity to potentially, protect myself from a 50% haircut, I would take it. And then a lot of times that would come through and I would buy back basically everything I had that if I would have held, I would have been down 50%, but instead I got to purchase an additional 100% in XRP, right? So, and I do that same thing with other holdings as well, Ethereum, things like that, right? For my long-term plays. And that's just me personally. I'm not encouraging anyone to, just go out and drop everything and sell everything, assuming we're going to, have a huge, fall back to like 180. But for me, I'm prepared for if XRP does take off from here, then it's going to go without me. And that's okay. The next major target, like I said, for me would be around that $5 to $6 region. So from where I essentially kind of exited, you're talking about 50 to 80% from where we are right now. Totally could happen, right? Once again, 355 is kind of the key to that next move up. But to me, once again, someone who's been involved with this all the way so far, captured the majority of this move here, I'm willing to miss out on this if I have to protect myself from potentially that, right? So to me, it's almost an equal risk to reward and to me to see a potential 50% move or a 50% drop. So for me, I think there's other opportunities at the moment. I think there's a lot of hype around XRP. I think that people are going absolutely wild for it, which, for anybody that's been holding, it's exciting to see your asset obviously moving and realistically back to the all-time highs. By no means am I discrediting that, but I just want to point out from a little bit of a neutral, standpoint, somebody who I could care less about XRP. I could care less about really any crypto. But I will try to, navigate it the best of my ability and position myself accordingly if I can. So that's what I'm doing here. I see a world right now where we have potential to get a little pullback. Obviously, the whole market, Bitcoin keeps going up at this point. You probably will see a little bit more higher towards that 350 area, and we'll just have to see how things go. But yeah, as far as line in the sand for upside, it's 355 in my opinion. I guess you could almost consider the all-time high at 331, which we're currently below on the daily. And then as far as pullbacks would go, I'd look for 284, 246, and a real big level right down here, stacked high time frame averages from 6 months, 3 months, a year. This would be my big buy zone right now. Would be back at 179. Stay tuned for more updates. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. And until then, everybody, cheers.